Hi everybody, welcome back to Sid's Modded Life, Season 2, Episode 199 with me, Sid. And you heard me, 199 episodes. And you'll notice something different, apart from the fact that I'm not wearing my armour. We have shaders on. And the reason for that is I'm in creative mode. We're doing a season tour. We're going to start off on the season tour on episode 199. The amount of work we've done on this season, we're definitely going to need 2 episodes to do this. So yeah, I can't believe it nearly 200 episodes in this world now. I'm doing this in creative just because I don't have to worry about, you know, mobs attacking me or whatever. It's just nice and simple. But if you think back to the start, we started on this server, well, Game World. Trying to think, must be at least 2 years ago now. I honestly can't think. I'd have to go back and really have a hunt. In fact, I'm going to do that right now. Back in a second. Yep, we started this season on February 28th, 2018. So just over 2 years ago. That was, of course, after doing 148 episodes of season 1. So yeah, we've put some hours into this world, and I'm doing this in shader. I just want to do this justice, you know. I don't normally play with shaders. It's a little bit heavy a load on the PC, and it tends to make the fan go. Obviously there's a lot more background noise, plus there's quite a few people don't like shaders. So yeah, the other thing is that a shader, as you'll see when we sleep the night off, as shaders and astral sorcery do not mix. But anyway, we started this thing back in February, and we actually started at this desert temple. This was where we started off. Now, obviously, it didn't start off like this. It started off as a desert temple, and we went in and we dug the hole and we raided the stuff and we did the things. But it was, you know, a little home, and we put things in down here, and we also built a little strip mine at the bottom here, and you know, there was quite a wee bit went on in the area. Lots of cave and things. So now I've got to remember how I got in here. And the strip mine went on and did its thing, and yada yada, and everything was good. And you know, for the most part, okay. I can't remember how far I actually went, and whether I think this is as far as we didn't go any further than this, and you know, usual fairly basic start. Now we added a coke oven early doors, and I think I put a blast furnace in quite early on as well in here, and you know, we did a fair bit. But ultimately this build became Alexandria Mark II, a much less grand version of the Alexandria build we did in season 1. But you know, we got the well, you know, we rounded the thing off and made it a little bit more smooth, and made it, you know, just more modded, I think is the word, and put these fake beacons, changed some of the blocks out to chisels and bits because these slants really did not work on edges. Wherever you could see the edge, that slant just did not play nicely. And of course, it was Alexandria, so we put in lots and lots of shelves of all of the enchantments that are in the pack, and I missed a few and had to add them on at the end. A few comments, didn't do that nearly as much as I should have done. Excess went down here into these cyclic ender bookshelves. Yeah, using various things, a precision dropper and a lens of disenchanting to take enchants off. We also used this to take enchants off the actual ender bookshelf itself, And we had all of the things. That really does not react well to shaders, does it? Plus the enchanting table. So this was, you know, just a nice little build to start off with. And scushing past some of the later builds, the next thing we ended up with was over here, where we got into actually building our power and setup and all of the things. It's going to take a moment to catch up, because obviously shaders. So we moved over into this little area. This was our actual home if you like, and it was always simple. Started off again with lots of just ordinary chests, and then we went into the crafting element and all of this. Again, nothing really fancy in here. A little bit of chisels and bits over to get the beams in and stuff, and some deco craft items here and there for sleepy pies. But this really was just a functional building. You know, we had a bit of this going on, to-do list, and we did most of it, I think. I mean, we've done the aviary project now. We never did do paper automation. Didn't really get that done. Never managed to finish that map room off. There's quite a few projects that would have been nice to get done, but you know, sometimes I have more ideas than I have time to actually do everything. But we got obviously a crafting system in place and lots of machines, and then through here, in the first instance, we had our refined storage system, and this has kind of expanded and expanded to have these massive great multi-block crafters and black hole units, and then we ended up with a lot of ender chests to bounce everything around. And this bit really didn't exist until later on, but we'll come back to that. So yeah, I mean, a lot of tech was used, a lot of technological mods, and I'm sure I made a great many mistakes, and usually do. But our early power, obviously, we had. Getting on towards nightfall, I'll be able to show you. Our early power was, of course, the waterfall, the turbine here, which we built into the terrain nicely around here. This was all pretty. We also had a little bit of solar panelage going on, but early doors, this was where we started with our power. And then later on, we got into canola, and this again was an early power source. It was a complete pain to manage. Because we had a harvester from Cyclic doing its thing, and we then brought that down, and I was using XNet. XNet is still a brilliant mod. I didn't use it a great deal later in the season, but we've used it early on. And basically we had all the controllers on here to move, the bee sounds, to move the canola and if I can find the actual bits. But it does all make sense. Various stuff going out, inserting into that. Should be. But ultimately we were shoving the canola seeds into there. The biomass would come through and be filtered through to a powered furnace. Powered furnace would create it into biocoal. Biocoal would be pushed into the coal generators. And the canola oil would the canola itself would go into press, make canola oil, which would be going to a fermenting barrel to make refined canola, and that of course would come through here, and it was all pushed through back into the system using these flux points. So, you know, a fairly interesting design. We used the apiaries again from Rustic with the bees to speed up the growth. While we were at this, we got early doors. Let's see whether we could Oh, it's behaving now. Alright. Really did not behave earlier when I was testing it. But we also put in the cyclic magic beans farm, which did worms from factory additions, so everything was just sped up as much as possible. Now while we're at it, we were looking for dungeons, and we, in that usual fashion of mine where I am just the luckiest git alive, we actually found an expanded Quark dungeon underneath the complex. So we put this in, and we used cyclic bags to capture and move the spawners around. That can all be turned off here. We can turn off the lights which allow that to spawn. There was also somewhere, where did I put that? I honestly can't remember. It's a long time since I've used this facility for. There was also at the bottom a system for making the darkness, which spawned a whole load of mobs. But I can't remember how did I move it all down here? I can't remember. Again, this is ages ago, and it was one of these. It was a really big old thing, but yeah. So you turn that one off, and it would turn on a. Let me just borrow that a second. You can't see because of the things, but under there was a dispenser, and that dispensed. I can't remember. I think it was it was something darkness. I can't actually remember what the hell it was now, but it dispensed it out and made lots of mobs, and we used a slime plate to catapult them all up to a killing point at the top. So this has been a really simple, well, probably overly complicated if I'm truthful about it, but we catapulted them up to the top. We eventually got to the point where we used the diamond spikes to kill them, sound mufflers to get rid of the sound of them. We're using an abstruse platform from Britannia, which of course we'll get to Olympus at some point, and an experience pylon to hold experience. Now I've drained it recently, and a few boxes just for storing loot when it comes. Obviously we've not used this in an age, so yeah, very simple little build, but effective, and it did its job, so that's fine. I'm going to actually very quickly sleep the night off, because it's a damn sight easier to run around the shaders with the night without the night on. But let's go and get that going. I'm also going to have to turn the shaders off when we go into orbit because shaders and Galacticraft don't play nicely. One of the early machines we put in here was the tree farm. It's completely off at the moment, but again we used elevator blocks and a very simple plant sower. Now this is currently set to plant them all oak saplings, but you can obviously configure the different quadrants to be different things. That would chuck out all sorts of stuff out here, again using XNet to move stuff around. And there's a black hole tank which was used to send the sewage, which was a byproduct from that, into the sewage plant, which is of course here. And again, this was just a cosmetic build, really just to hide one thing and one thing only, which was this sludge refiner. The sludge goes in and it spits out all sorts of goodies. But behind that, just for good measure, we also hid a few things, like this is my obsidian maker. So again, you can turn that on and it'll just make obsidian all day until you run out of lava, of course, which looks like that's going to go down. I don't know why we're running out of lava there, but you know, it's a thing. So there've been an awful lot of little builds like this in this series. Little things to, you know, you're like, oh, I need a lot of obsidian. And how do I make a lot of obsidian? Well, let's make a machine to make it. Well, how do we do that? And then you kind of work through. And right at the start of this season, I said that the purpose of the purpose of modded Minecraft is that the mods support the building, not you build for the mods. So my thoughts and process was I want to build things that look nice, and I want to use the mods to help me do that, rather than I just want to min-max out and get immersive engineering as far as I can, or whatever it may be. Speaking of immersive, this was an early build. Oh, of course, another early build here was the fish farm, which these things, ludicrously powerful. And so much enchanted loot, it was ludicrous, really. But we did build this as a factory area. Didn't get the use of my original plan was to use this to make like a train system and travel around. We never did it. We never did that. And then when we did do a train system, this had all been repurposed to something else, which was this space here. So Art Furnace was a late addition. This was Galacticraft. This was our automatic oxygen tank refiller. So when you went into the ender pouch, you could jump in. There was always 2 oxygen tanks. If you put a empty oxygen tank in there, it would be taken out. It would go into here, fill up, and once it was filled out, it would be put back into the pouch for you, ready to use. At the same time, over here, you'd put charcoal and coal and iron, and that underneath there's an item pulling out all of the good stuff for the blast furnace outside. This whole lot over here is the automatic latex maker, and I don't know why you stopped. Oh, I started pulling it straight out, that's why. It hasn't stopped. But that basically puts down logs and takes them out. And all of that, again, was controlled by a variety of overly complex XNet things. And it's really, the XNet is hugely powerful. I love it as a mod. But outside, we have a variety of things. These are going to have been built up over time. So that silo never worked. But the obviously the coke oven, advanced coke oven, the advanced blast furnace. This was our biodiesel setup all over here, which fed this generator, and then this generator got fed with gasoline, I think it was. Yeah, gasoline goes into that one, or from this thing, this distillation tower. Again, a lot of immersive engineering, and these blocks I love. I think they're just really good. Shame about the visual glitches, but you know, you can't have everything. This thing was added later, and its purpose was to... I actually can't even remember what the hell I was using this for. Oh, steel. Was it steel? Steel. I wanted large amounts of steel, didn't I? And I was crushing it down to make crushed coal coke to go into that. Yeah. But this was a really fun build. I really enjoyed making this. Just the detail. Sometimes fun stuff is small and detailed. Sometimes fun stuff is big and over the top, which we'll come to it as we move on. At the top here, we had the obviously additions infuser, and this was all set up so we could just load these up and it would make things for us. Nothing fancy, just did the job. And later, another later game addition for power was this lot, the water solar tower and steam turbines, and this has been more or less providing all the power for us from that point onwards. This has been hugely powerful, and you can see which ones are working because, you know, the spinning. This one's obviously not got any kind of draw on it. What else did we do up here? The main things, that's probably the main items. We did put in the vault, which we'll come to in a moment, and we also put in this, the Astral Sorcery teleporter, which is an absolute pig to use with shaders. It just does not work very well at all. One of my favourite means of transport still, I'm sure you all remember this one, the old aerial faithplate. Love that. Is that a cyclic? What a variation of it again? It is. Good old cyclic. The vault was put in, and that was where we stored our power, or at least initially where we stored our power. So we ended up with a sizable amount of HV capacitors running. I think it's that one. I think this is the one anyway. Again, tracking the ins and outs of this, you can see that we've got a variety of networks. Over here was the system we used the enchantment, so anything enchanted would go in, it would be sorted, and if it was, get me this blah blah blah, trying to remember how we did it. Then it went to the extractor. This was books were made automatically and passed in, and yeah, and then it was a whole load of stuff was binned and the books went through back into the system. All very simple and fairly early doors, as I recall. On this side we ended up with, and we've got things running right now, but this is the grinding setup, so anything that's is grindable goes into this chest, that's put into this array of grinders, they all come through here and spit out here. If it's dust or anything that's smeltable, that will go into this chest, and that gets automatically passed through to these powered furnaces, which automatically then goes back through into the system. So all very good. We had to upgrade this recently because it was a little bit slow. One of the things I did do, which was a major undertaking, and we didn't ever finish this, was the map room. So we got these are just Galacticraft screens, but we did this, which was a kind of a representation of where we live, each block being a chunk. And I never did get around to using it. Wonderful idea in principle, in practice not practical, but it was an interesting build. It took a hell of a lot of digging, I remember that much. Yeah, it's surprising how long and how much we've done over here. So in terms of the other build, the other major build actually here at the spawn village, if we ignore the apiary because that's kind of just set away from it, that was the Galacticraft stuff. So we built this mission control area, put in some satellites. These we never did use these. Now these were generating and filling the fluid tank with oxygen, and the intention was always to pipe this oxygen to the space station and use that there. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 tanks of oxygen and 12 collectors running, so something we should have been able to do something with that. We never did get that done. This was I left a whole pile of stuff behind apparently. I never knew that was there, and that's there to keep our mission controllers quiet because they are around here. And obviously we didn't get these until we'd actually been to the moon, but there they are, mission controllers. But we had all of the NASA control. We got the crafting grid brought out here to pull things out, various Galacticraft machines, obviously a whole load of DecoCraft stuff, and an interesting view of a very, very large rocket. And that was, I was going to try to think when we did that, but again I didn't want to just stick a, let me come around here quickly and we'll just go and sleep the night off. Although that does look impressive at night. I'm going to not sleep the night off yet. So I didn't want to just sit there and do the usual Galacticraft thing of build my launch pad, put it down, stick a fueler next to it and take off. I wanted a launch pad that actually looked like a launch pad. So the first thing we did was we built a launch pad. Right down to and including the big hatch in there, and smoke from the big boosters. We've got the Saturn rocket on its platform here, and then of course what you ended up with, the various rockets of course, but you ended up with this massive platform which just went up and up, and again without immersive engineering, without the big immersive engineering farms we've got out there, which we'll come over to in a moment. Not farms, excavators and quarries and pumps. None of this would have been possible. This is, we've really min-maxed out getting the resources together for this, but you keep on going up and 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 you keep on. Some good views from up here. Interesting with the shaders how the various lights or hidden light sources we've got down show up. But you keep on going up and you keep on going up and you keep on going up and you keep on going up, and eventually I think there might have been, actually, was there a walkway somewhere? There might have been one down there as well, but eventually you come through to here, and in here was the, oh, it was down there. Okay, yeah, fine, might be like that. We've got the various thing with the refinery making the fuel that's been pumped up into the rocket from whatever that was. I can't remember. I think it's just oil. And on the top you've got the launch pad with your rocket, which you can go and fly on it. And the view from up here was phenomenal. Huge thing, just with the sole purpose of giving me something. I'm just going to use set time today rather than sleep, because it works. So that was the Galacticraft launch pad, which took us off on our Galacticraft journey. That village was doomed pretty much from when I moved in. But again, this was just a massive thing that made possible with the flat coloured blocks mod, because again, I don't think I could have done this out of concrete. That would have been enough to drive me absolutely crazy. I mentioned the other things we did over, there's a portal area which we did over here. The other nice thing about being creative is I don't have to worry about mobs attacking me all the time. So we had the portal to the cavern dimension, we had the portal to the nether, and we had the non-existent portals on these two sides, which would have been, I never really had them. I had them there just in case they ever got any more dimensional things, I suppose. But heading out into the desert, of course, we had quite a few things. The nodding donkeys, as we call them in the UK, or we used to call them in the UK, I don't know whether they still do, but oil derricks or pump jacks pulling out oil. This area is almost certainly drained, judging by the amount. Now there should be another one over there, and then I don't think we've got the excavator running at the moment, but the excavator is run in a few places, because it's evidenced by a very characteristic hole. Oh, there's another. There's the excavator. I'm not sure what it was excavating over here. Looks like, well, I've got no idea what was. Magnetite, gold, iron, sorry. So this has made it possible for us to make these vast builds. The one thing we did do, which is one of my, it's kind of a go-to design really for early door Enderman hunting, is the little pile in, and that obviously would have been taken out, but Enderman falls down. and I can go down here and tap his feet with a sword and get goodies. And this is just a kind of a slightly more fancy one with a different view of the area, so better overview. Deserts are great for Enderman hunting because obviously you've got a really good range of vision because you don't have trees and stuff blocking you. Yeah, and that was more or less it over here. Now I'm going to, before we go move on to the next area, I'm going to turn my shaders off and we're going to very quickly head up to the space station. This is the only element of space I want to go to because it's the only area that I did any significant building. All of the others was effectively practical building. So let me turn the shaders off and we'll head up to the space station. So I'll see you in a moment. Alright, we're also getting close to end of time on this one, so we'll finish this particular part of the tour on the space station, and next episode we will cover Olympus, the Ocean Monument, the aviaries, the Witch Hut, and the Jurassic Land thing, although obviously we've done that pretty much recently. So, but Leo, I'm in creative mode still, so I should be okay. In fact, I'm not going to, I will play it safe. I never know with Galacticraft. Leo was our space station that we built, and it's got its own power generation. We built it. This bit is pressurized. It has got oxygen within the center, but the rest of it hasn't. But down here we built it with an aim to running this, the laser. And so this thing is basically mining resources for us as well. We ended up with resources coming in hand over fist from all directions. And we ended up with a big torus ring. I'll go outside first, and then we'll go and do the inside bit. So yeah, Leo was our space station. So hey, God, I forget how much fun this is to navigate. Big torus ring on the outside. I still wanted to do something on the top. I never did get around to doing that. Big solar sails sticking off the side here. I mean, again, this was a build that I loved doing. It was a pain of a build because the way you move in space is in Galacticraft is somewhat of a pain, but it was a big old build. It was a very painful build. It took a lot of effort to build using this kind of having to be conscious of your inertia and movement, and then getting yourself landed so you could come into a block and, you know, just wander around. Now when you came around to the side here, we tried to do something clever. So this side has got, well, I'll show you what this side has got a fan, and that fan pushes you down. And obviously the momentum you get from the fan should be enough to push you all the way down to here, which again, we never really got this finished. I would have liked to get a lot more built, but I really didn't have anything to build up here. I did think about doing hydroponics or something like that. In the center of here, however, apart from that little bit there, we built the top and bottom half, in fact, quite a few layers of a nuclear reactor, and again there was supposed to be another few layers of nuclear reactor in there. We didn't really need it. And the other problem I had with the Galacticraft thing was the radiation. Any time that I spent, that's not playing, that would in theory catapult you back up to the top here. Any time you spent in space, you ended up building up radiation, which made you sick, ultimately, and die. And as a mechanic, it's just not enjoyable, because I don't want to have to be thinking about managing my radiation levels constantly. It just doesn't work very well. So, but that was Leo, and obviously we did the moon. We did Mars. We did the asteroid belt. We died on Venus, and too much to my annoyance. And of course, we did have all of this stuff. So, yeah, that was things. So let's head. It's not rendering very well with the galactic craft. We've got the witch hut there. We've got the moon. I think that's the only. There's. What was that I had? Mars. Don't want to go to Mars. There's nothing there to see. I know asteroids is not somewhere I want to go. You can see you can't see this bit here, but anyway, let's head to the witch hut. If I can get us there. Where we will continue next episode on our tour of the server. Shaders have turned back on again. So yeah, until then, thank you very much for watching, guys, and I will see you soon. Bye for now.